Okay, the sirens mostly stopped now, so I'm going to continue. Uh, I'm in my son's garden. Anyway, um, as I was saying, they made all those cartoons. They threw dildos into the yard when I was in prison and said, this is for Ella. My husband had them taken down to the state police bureaus. They wouldn't even try to get the fingerprints off. You know, when O.J. Simpson was arrested, they got fingerprints off in his letters, but they said that there was no way they could take the fingerprints off the letters that was coming to me. The stack of threats, the stack of cartoons. She always sent threats with cartoons, and she'd always say, "Well, I'll have your kids taken away from you. I'll have your kids taken away." The mother's worst nightmare. They didn't care. They burned our barn and with all those things in it. We even had a tractor and manure spreader and stuff like that, and I just told a little bit of the stuff that was in there, and they got away with it. They got away with it. The fire department never showed up. You know, it's kind of funny that there was people down by the pond and down on the other roads before the fire department was even called. Like they were warned that it was going to happen, and some of them were relatives. Most of them were. And when I went to the neighbor, tried to use the phone to call the fire department, she said, "I'm not letting you use it, let it burn." So I had to go clear down the road to get somebody else to call the fire department. They called it because they thought my kids was in the house, in a barn. The neighbor went and told everybody a few minutes before, he's dead now, told people a few minutes before that my kids was burning up in the barn fire. He thought my kids slept in the barn. Was he crazy? When I slept in my car every night because my husband had to go to work in the morning, we had threats that it was going to burn down. We told everybody that what was told to us. They just laughed. It was a huge barn. We got nothing out of it because um, we couldn't afford the insurance any longer. And that's when they burned it, when we couldn't afford the insurance any longer because I had so many fines to pay because she lied about me. And the state police wouldn't help. They would tell her over the scanner, like I said. And she had a scanner. When it came on there, they would all disappear. The neighbors would be like they were sleeping or in the house. When we were stoned under the chestnut tree by these boys that come from the inner city, Erie, PA, Erie County, they they would stone us. We would be under our tree, chestnut tree, sitting on the grass. They would come by and throw stones at us and stones at us, hit my husband in the head with them, hit me in the head with them. They didn't care that I was pregnant. Then the next day I got beat up. I called the state troopers when they were stoning us. Oh, all of a sudden, my sister comes and gets them out of the road and says the police are coming, and so they weren't there. But I know that officer seen them when they were leaving, going down to their house. I know he's seen them, but he pretended he didn't. And I was told to call every time there was an incident. So when I called, they marked down that I was harassing them, the state police did. What was our taxpayer money paying for? I wasn't harassing them. I was telling them the truth. And this is what I went through daily, and I'm still being followed. Oh, my niece, I picked up my one niece. Her mother told me I could take her to Northeast with me. I was up to Northeast and I seen my sister following me. I said, I'd like to know how she knows where I am. And my niece Marcia said, because there's a thing that they call a roach on your car, on your truck. It's a device where they can follow you. Well, when I told it to the Girard cops when I got back, I did not, I didn't, they just acted like I was crazy. And my niece went and took it off the car and gave it back to my sister, which was a dirty, rotten trick. She said, yeah, I was asked to put it on there, so I put it on there. And she said, I don't want to get in trouble. She gave it back to my sister and to her sister and her niece. I mean sister-in-law. And oh, Sherry acted like she wasn't in on it. She was one helping with the cartoons, and Lulu's sons were helping with the stuff. They would use Frank's uniforms from the fire department to harass me. They'd come by and say, "We see the Beard and children burn crisp in a house fire. All you firemen can go home now," and stuff like that. If I could have afforded a movie camera, which we borrowed every once in a while, but if I could have afforded a movie camera, I would have had it all. And then my attorney breaking into the storage trailer and saying that he wouldn't represent me because there was ashes on the floor. What did I tell him? I said, "Mr. Palmisano, I do not want you in my buildings. You can go up and see where the property is. The kids said that their bikes went out of control. Going uphill? They went out of control up a hill to my storage building? Oh yeah, right. That's the first time I ever seen something like that. And that we threw their bikes in the weeds. They could have taken fingerprints off of those bikes, and then the state police wouldn't. They would have knew we didn't do it. And then to say that I was a guilty one when they beat me, and I went to the hospital and was told my baby was dead that day, and I come home and see them on the property, seeing my daughter come over their backs because they were trying to pull her clothes off on her, over one back, and that wasn't the one that Martha had a white mark on. Martha got a white mark where? Off in some big black person's back. It sure looked like paint to me. I asked my lawyer to confiscate that and have it professionally looked at. He said, "No, I'm not helping you." When I was in the judge's chambers, the judge made me take Mike Palmisano, and he said it was a good friend of his, and I said I didn't want an attorney. He said, "Well," he said, "you're going 2 to 17 and a half years in prison, so you better take an attorney." And he was right. You know why? Because they threatened my witnesses. They threatened that if any of my witnesses said any different than those other kids on the other side said, they'd all go to prison. Now, how was that a fair trial? I could not let my husband and my daughter go to prison. My daughter was defending herself against rape and beatings from that guy. He wasn't no 12-year-old. I even showed a picture in court, a movie where we rented a camera. I showed it in court. It showed him saying he was going to kill me. It showed my neighbor woman standing over my car with a curtain rod trying to beat me when I was trying to get out of it on my own property. And she said she had never been on it. She should have got it for perjury. No, they just threw her testimony out. Well, Michael T. Joyce is in a federal penitentiary. He gets out in August. So you see, Ava, sometimes it takes a while, but they get what's coming to him. He got it for insurance fraud and everything else, for being a liar. Every case that he ever tried should have been thrown out. And I can't get mine back into court because it's too late. They should have made those kids take lie detector tests. They're liars. And every time Martha wanted to get away with something, Martha would go and say, "I'm going to say you molested me and the other two are just helping me." Well, that doesn't stand up for me. I'm telling you, Ava, if anything happens to me, I want this plate. I do not want a funeral. I want to be buried just like Grandpa was. And I'll tell you what Martha done, Martha will pay for. I don't care. Yeah, the Lord will forgive her, but she's not going to get away with what she done. And all the rest of them. And the sister that molested me, the babysitter that molested me, I'm not saying who it was, she's not going to get away with it either. She says that she don't believe that God will punish people because he's a good God. Well, God does. And she hasn't accepted the Lord as her Savior. And so that's not going to go over. And she thinks that they can just talk to God and say, "Oh, Lord." Elda was the mean one. I wasn't. I took a lot. I took a lot before I hollered back. I was like having a nervous breakdown after all those months and months and years of being harassed. they would look into my house with field glasses to watch. If I would be in one room, she would call when she was still living with her husband in the trailer on our property before she left him. Martha would call me and say, I see you're in the living room. I just seen you dressing. I mean, this was a quarter of a mile from her house, the trailer she was living in. Oh, and she had nerve to come and take the trailer off the property too. She never paid rent here, but we let her take it. But when she tried to take our land, that was another thing. My husband and I worked hard to get that. She even thought that she could do it some other way. Well, she might as well have taken it. We got $135,000 for our property, and we had to pay $10,000 back because of inheritance tax, because we put Charlie's name on the deed and he got killed. And we had to pay that twice because we couldn't find our records because they burned up. I'm not taking any more of this, so I have to go now. And I told you about the cartoons and everything. If I list something out, Ava, you'll have to tell me. Bye.
It's getting weight on my gym.